Have you ever been stereotyped before? What was the stereotype that you were given? Was the stereotype a fact or was it fiction? How do you view the stereotype about yourself? And do you agree with the stereotype that was given to you or believed about you? Well, what is a stereotype? A stereotype is a idea or a perceived image about a person, place, or thing. And it's a general populace belief. But a stereotype may or may not be true. And stereotypes can be harmful or beneficial to a person, place, or thing, or a group. I want to discuss lesbian stereotypes. And I've titled my video, 3 False Stereotypes About Lesbians. I am Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author. And here on my YouTube channel, I provide my lesbian perspective. And if that interests you, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. 3 false stereotypes about lesbians. Now, I will go in a chronological order. These stereotypes are not exhaustive, and there's not one stereotype that is more important than the other. They're just 3 stereotypes that I'm providing today in my video message. And stereotypes tend to be stigmatized when it's referring to a person or a group of people. And lesbians have been stereotyped by society. Lesbians have been marginalized by society, and lesbians have been discriminated by society. But also at the same time, lesbians have been approved by certain people or accepted by certain people, even celebrated by certain people. But even though lesbians are sometimes accepted and approved or celebrated by certain people, even these people sometimes fall for the stereotypes about lesbians. And stereotypes, in many cases, are not factual information about a person or a group of people. And they can be very harmful and painful for the person or the group of people, but also for people who are directly affected by these stereotypes, because maybe they're your loved ones, family members, friends, your community. And even though they're not lesbian, they still are negatively affected by these stereotypes about lesbians, because in most cases, when people have a stereotype about a marginalized group of people, these stereotypes are intended to isolate you, insult you, and antagonize you. And that's why I want to address 3 false stereotypes about lesbians, because the truth needs to be exposed. And the exposure can be very good. So let me go ahead and start with number one. And this is not like this is the number one reason or the number one false stereotype about lesbians. This just means, number one, I'm going in chronological order. The number one or first false stereotype about lesbians is lesbians are miserable. Lesbians are very unhappy. They're very bitter females. There's this false idea about lesbians that they're disgruntled females, like they're angry about everything. They take everything personal. They walk around with a chip on their shoulder. And they believe that everybody is against them. And because these lesbians are so angry and just never satisfied, well, there's this stereotype that lesbians are miserable, so all they do is party and they get drunk and high and they just crash out because they don't want to face reality. So this is an absolutely insane stereotype to apply to lesbians. Now, when I say lesbians, I mean collectively all lesbians. This stereotype that all lesbians are miserable females or women, they're mad at the world, they're always ready to fight and combat people. They even go into insulting lesbian women as wanting to be men. They'll say, oh, they want to be like men. Oh, they try to look all hard and tough and go and get all these muscles and they think they can fight men. They're so aggressive. They're so combative. I can't stand those lesbians. No wonder they're on drugs. No wonder they get high all the time. No wonder they're always drinking. They don't have any type of self-control. So this is a huge falsehood about lesbians because, for one, to stereotype all lesbians as being miserable, angry, combative females who are always trying to be like men or act like men and look like men, well, it's just not true. But it also is derogatory to accuse lesbians of always being mad at the world and being ready to fight people and attack people for no reason at all, as if we don't have a reason for doing the things we do. I believe this stereotype derives from the fact that people don't ever look at the life of a lesbian. They don't understand what it's like to be a lesbian. And the only thing that they capture and that they publicize is when they see a lesbian who is outspoken or she expresses herself and she may be saying a statement that you don't agree with. Because many times people do not understand female homosexuality, and they think that when women are expressing themselves, they're just being emotional and illogical. But what is not being revealed is why a lesbian may be upset. And you have to get to the bottom of it. But this does not mean all lesbians are combative and angry and cruel. You even hear in this same hole, they're miserable, that they hate men. There's a lot of men who vow that all lesbians hate men. And that's also a false stereotype that falls into the same category of lesbians being miserable, angry, combative females or women. But many lesbians are often not allowed to be their authentic self, and they're expected to conform to heteronormativity. And that can be very complex and frustrating for a lesbian. And imagine not being understood. Imagine being misquoted and even patronized just for being yourself. Well, at some point, she's going to speak her mind. And maybe you think she's too aggressive. Maybe you think that she needs to be silent. She needs to stay in a woman's place. Depending on who the source is that believes that all lesbians are angry, bitter, females, miserable, they're always high and drunk and angry at men. Well, who's the source that makes this stereotype? So you have to take all perspectives into consideration and get the full story. You can't just take part of it and expect for people to believe it, because that's propaganda. And the truth is, yes, lesbians get angry. Yes, lesbians get frustrated. But that does not mean that all lesbians are miserable and that all lesbians are out partying all the time and getting high and getting drunk, and that they're just angry for no reason at all. So it's definitely a stereotype. It's a false stereotype, and you should find out the truth. And the truth is, there's a lot of lesbians who are very happy. And just like the word gay, gay means happy. So she's gay all the time. But you don't want to talk about that, do you? No, you'd rather promote the stereotype that all lesbians are miserable, angry females who hate men. But just think about if somebody stereotyped you. Would you like that? Would you like to always be falsely stereotyped? More than likely you would not. So do not do that to lesbians. Don't stereotype them. Learn the truth. Now, the second, or number 2, false stereotype about lesbians is that lesbians do not believe in God. They do not believe in the Most High God, the Lord. They don't believe in having a savior. And this is a very detrimental as well as sabotaging stereotype for lesbians, because now you're attacking her personal beliefs as well as her religious and spiritual viewpoints. And when you are attacking someone regarding how you view their faith or their belief systems in the Most High God, well, you're violating lesbians when you do so, because you cannot place your own religious beliefs on another person. Because for one, you are not absolutely in any position to be able to tell a lesbian or lesbians collectively that they don't know God, or that they don't love God, or that they don't worship God, or when you say she turned away from God and that's why she's a lesbian. There's no biblical evidence for that argument, but also you're not able to hold lesbians to a religious belief or a religious ideology based on how you believe, because everybody believes differently. Now, there may even be lesbians who may be agnostic, or they may be non-believers. They may not worship God, and that's their right. You don't need to even violate a lesbian who does not believe in God, because that's her right. Now, when you attack a lesbian or lesbians who do say that they believe in God and that they worship God, for you to claim that they are not worshiping God because they are lesbians is very hypocritical, and it's not factual. How can you say whether a person worships God or not unless they tell you? If they tell you that they worship God, that's up to them. But if they choose not to tell you whether or not they worship God, that's up to them as well. But you get a lot of people who place all lesbians in the same category of turning away from God, or she doesn't believe in God, or she sold her soul to the devil. Yes, that's what they say about lesbians. That's what they say about gays and homosexuals. But now you're in the danger zone. And the reason why is because you are condemning another human being's soul. And you don't have that power or that right. Only God is the judge. And you don't know what a person thinks, feels, or believes. You don't. And you can't say that you know. So who are you to falsely accuse lesbians of not being believers in God, worshipers of God? And as I already said, if she is a non-believer or if she's an atheist, that is her right. And you cannot mistreat a person based off of their belief or their non-belief. Faith and belief in religion or theology is a personal choice. I believe that God has given human beings free will. And if you violate a person's free will, then you're violating the order of God's design for free will. And that's what many people do when they preach in these churches and teach these false doctrines and just attack lesbians verbally. And in some cases, they even physically attack. They become very volatile towards lesbians. It happens on their personal belief system. Now, how can you be so angry and furious with a lesbian or lesbians because they don't believe the way you do? That makes absolutely no sense. Because they don't worship God the way you do, you feel entitled to mistreat them. And you say that God is pleased with your behavior. Well, if God is pleased with your behavior of attacking and mistreating lesbians because they're not heterosexual, well, basically, what you're really saying is that anybody should be able to attack you as well because you're a heterosexual worshiper of God. You see, it has to go both ways. You can't just have it your way. You can't just have it one way. If you're going to attack another group of people, in this regard, lesbians, because they don't believe like you do, they should be heterosexual women who worship God. And since they're not heterosexual, they're homosexual, they don't believe in God, in your opinion, and I stress your opinion, or you believe if they say that they're a lesbian and that they're also a believer and a worshiper of God, you say that they are lying and that they are an abomination. Well, what you're basically teaching to the world is that it is 100% okay to violate and disrespect homosexual people if you are heterosexual and if you believe in God. Do you think God is pleased with your rhetoric? And just remember that if you can do it to someone else, somebody else will do it to you. Because what you have to understand is that the tables can be turned. And God is a God of love. But God is also a God of vengeance. Do you really think that God is pleased with you attacking and mistreating his children who are lesbians? I'll answer that question for you. Absolutely not. And just remember, because a lot of you tend to forget about the God of vengeance. He sees everything, he knows everything, and he knows everyone. So you should be more focused on making sure that you are living right instead of pointing the finger at lesbians and condemning them. Lesbians have the right to their privacy about their beliefs, their faith, their religion, and who they worship. And it's none of your business. So stay out of their business, because it is their business how they worship God, not yours. Number 3, the third false stereotype about lesbians is that lesbians are all unattractive women. They're ugly. They can't get a man. These women are so unattractive, so they turned into lesbians. Yeah, that is a huge false stereotype about lesbians. You will hear people say all lesbians are ugly. Some of them go again into the whole disrespectful stance, saying that lesbians look like men. And, for one, if a lesbian looks like a man to you, and if you're a heterosexual woman saying that, well, you like men, so why are you disrespecting lesbians, calling them looking like men, and you like men, you're attracted to men? That makes no sense. And then if you are a man who is saying, oh, all these lesbians look like men, they're ugly, and you're a man yourself, do you realize that you're disrespecting your own gender, your own sex as a man? You do realize that, right? But yet you go on and insult the physical features of lesbians. And honestly, if it's a man or a woman who is heterosexual or whoever you are, and you want to just categorize all lesbians as being unattractive females who never can get a man, they are hopelessly single. And so instead of staying single forever, they say, well, I'm just going to settle for being with a woman. They even go on to say that she really doesn't want to be with the woman, but she has no choice because she's ugly. A man doesn't want her. Well, I tell you, I hear so many accounts of lesbians who are constantly being hit on by men who are always chasing lesbians. And in many cases, these men don't know these women are lesbians. You see, a man doesn't chase after a woman, or he doesn't waste his time being around women who he is not attracted to. No, men, heterosexual men, and even bisexual men, they love women. They love to be around women. And we all know that men love beautiful women, very attractive women. And I can't count how many times I've heard a lesbian say, I am a lesbian and I told this guy I'm a lesbian, but he's constantly in my DMs. He's always in my face. This is so ridiculous. I cannot stand men who do not respect who I am. I'm a lesbian. I am not interested in you as a man. So there are lesbians who are very verbal and vocal about her being a lesbian. She says that to a man, so he knows, but he still chases her down. So it sounds to me like somebody's lying, because if you are saying that all lesbians are very ugly and unattractive, then why are men chasing after lesbians? Somebody's lying. And it's the men, because lesbians don't look like how you think they are supposed to look. That's the big issue with a lot of people. They want to stereotype lesbians as being unattractive or being very masculine to the point where a man wouldn't want her. I don't even believe any of that, because there are lesbians who are being approached by men every day. Now, there are cases where that man does not know she's a lesbian. And this is the point I'm trying to make. You don't know this woman is a lesbian, but you're all in her face. You're trying to get her digits. You are all in her DMs. And she doesn't have to let you know she's a lesbian, because really that's none of your business. But the very fact that you are a man and you are attracted to this woman who you are chasing proves that it is a stereotype that all lesbians are ugly. Because most of you men don't even know that the women who you are after, the women who you find the most attractive, in many cases are lesbian women. And when this lesbian woman discloses to you, if she chooses to reveal to you that she's a lesbian, that should be your answer to go on your way. Leave her alone. She's not available. But no, what do most men do? They try to convince a lesbian woman to be with a man. But I thought all lesbians are unattractive. That is one of the hugest false stereotypes about lesbians, that they're unattractive or what they call ugly. And I think it's very unattractive and ugly to disrespect someone's physical appearance, because the way they are physically cannot be changed. That's the way the person looks. So it's very mean-spirited to attack someone's physical looks, but it's also very superficial as well. Very superficial. And even if you are attracted to a lesbian, whether you know she's a lesbian or not, you should try to get to know more about who she is as a person, instead of just trying to sleep with her or get something out of her for selfish gain. So these people who are so busy calling lesbians ugly and unattractive, they're very mean-spirited, arrogant, and superficial. They're not the kind of people who need to be in a relationship with someone anyway. They wouldn't even know who they're sleeping with, because they're so focused on how the person looks. But lesbians are very attractive women. And we're attractive not just because of our physical appearance, but because of our spirit, our heart posture, our mindset, who we are as a whole, and how we positively impact the people around us. Be a light. Be a source of positive change. Be someone who fulfills their purpose while on earth. And that's very attractive. I hope that this video message resonates with you. 3 false stereotypes about lesbians. I'm a lesbian. I've actually been stereotyped according to these 3 stereotypes, but these are not the only 3 stereotypes that I've been falsely stereotyped under. But I definitely can relate to these 3 false stereotypes about lesbians, because I'm a lesbian myself and I've been stereotyped and I continue to be stereotyped. And that's why I wanted to make this video message. I appreciate you for listening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and share the video. And if you are interested in receiving life coaching, I am a certified life coach. All of my contact information is here on YouTube in the description box. I also am an instructor of my private academy, which is called Giselle Wallace Lesbian Academy. I look forward to you registering and becoming a student, because it's time for us as same-sex attracted people, or if you are LGBTQIA+, for us to learn our way in a heteronormative society who does not like to honor and respect our identities, but they prefer to stereotype us in a marginalized, detrimental way. Thank you for listening. I am Giselle Wallace.